You know the little things that make you so happy.
I looked at your invention. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your invention, your company, and how you came up with it?
Right. So, okay, a little bit about how we came up with this idea. So I worked a lot in advertising, mainly for CPG companies. Last time I worked for Saatchi&Saatchi. Not sure if you are familiar with advertising agencies. They are a pretty big agency.
Yeah, they're a big ad agency. Yep.
Right. So I've worked mainly for Procter & Gamble and other CPG companies as well. Last time I worked for Saatchi&Saatchi in Frankfurt, that is in Germany, and I was art director for EMEA region, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, basically. Mm-hmm. And you know, during that time, we used to do, in addition to normal advertising like TV adverts and print and online, we also did a lot of in-store campaigns. And I always got this feeling that actually the classical way of communicating with a shopper in store is no longer working. We are doing and using the same old things all over again. And you know, I felt the need that there must be something better than this. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, I got the immense chance to work for a retailer. I was also in charge with their marketing, but also with their products. I was actually in charge with their private label. So they had their own product that they were trying to sell within their stores. And I had access in real time to their sales data. And I tried to see, you know, what works and what not. It was pretty interesting because we tried almost everything. We tried all those special displays, all those, you know, cardboard materials that you try to push the sales with, human sales rep trying to entice, you know, buy this, buy that. Also TV adverts in store.
Did you have those? Did you have those flashing? Did you have those flashing lights and coupon spitters and stuff like that? Yeah. Did you try those as well?
Not that specifically, but apart from that, I think we tried almost everything, you know. And we actually had a competition because we were designers. You know, that was our background. So we came up also with the design of the product. So there was a bit of competition amongst ourselves. Like, okay, my product is better. It will totally outsell your product. It's obvious, you know. And we got very mixed results. I mean, this week my product was selling better, and I was really happy. But the next week the other product will sell better. So we didn't understand quite why. You know, why is that? So we tried to. I spent like literally tens of or hundreds of hours in the stores trying to figure out what is happening, what is the behavior of the shopper, you know. Mm-hmm. And we realized that actually, you know, is the first thing that a product must do in order to increase the chances for that product to be sold is actually to become visible, because most shoppers actually are doing their shoppings on autopilot mode, so they don't really pay attention 360 degrees to notice every product that it's in an aisle. So the first condition is to make your product visible. That's the first thing. And then if you manage to somehow interact with the shopper to create a sort of bond, an emotional bond with that shopper, that is like gold,
Yeah.
And that beats everything. That beats price and the brand and the packaging and all that, And if, how we came up with this concept, basically. And another thing that we tried is, actually the idea behind Tokinomo is, leave everything aside. Don't use any other layer between the product and the shopper. Let the product be the star. So basically, we try to remove all layers between the shopper and the product. So, and to give a voice and to give a personality to the physical product. And I think we did a pretty good job, to be honest.
Yeah, I looked at your materials. Maybe you should tell people who haven't seen it yet exactly how it works.
Right. So you have a hidden device that sits behind at the shelf normally, and it sits behind the product. And then when the shopper passes that area, that aisle, then the product starts to move and to speak with the shopper. And we also have a light that further highlights the product, right? So it's like magically the product comes to life when the shopper is passing by near the shelf. So that is what we're doing. And in parallel, we are also providing more advanced data, basically. So we gather data on the shoppers, on the demographic, and we try to offer a complete package to the brands that are using our solution.
So tell me a little bit about the technical side of it, because so this is a device that sits behind the product, right? So it's a device here's the product. So this sits on behind the product, and then as the customer walks up to it, it just sort of pushes the product out and sort of differentiates it from the rest of the, because when you're in a supermarket, it's basically rows and rows and rows of product and nothing is sticking out, right? Unless of course there's like a what do you call those kiosk sort of things. But as you walk by, it just sort of pushes the product out. And does it also, as you said, it speaks to you as well? And what else does it actually do? So first of all, how does it sense? Maybe tell us a little bit about the technology behind it, like how it actually does this.
Right. So it has basically two ways of sensing the shopper. The first one is it's a motion sensor. So it's motion sensor activated. So it activates when the shopper is passing by. Then another thing, we have a camera which also can tell, for example, whether that shopper is a male, a female, approximately what age they have. And based on that, we can deliver a personalized message. We can deliver a message specific for that person. We can do a lot of things. For example, we can make the product dance to the rhythm of music. So, yeah, really.
Very cool.
So imagine that you are a brand and you have a theme song that you are using across channels for your overall communication. So you can totally use that and have your product dance to that music. Nice. Another thing we can have actually two products. Or imagine a cross promo, right, between two products of the same brand but different products. So imagine we can create a real-time dialogue between them, so they can actually conversate between them. Like imagine like you have a bag of Lay's and the Pepsi can. They are belonging to the same company. So you can have something like, I don't know, the can of Pepsi is saying to the Lay's, hey, you are sitting there all by yourself. Well, why won't you buy me and that bag together? I don't know, something like that.
It's the perfect couple, right?
Right.
Or you could have the can ask the Lay's bag to marry it or something like that.
Yeah, actually we have exactly. We have something like this. We did it for Nutella. The chocolate cream, and I can share it with you. afterwards, I can share with you the exact dialogue that we created. It's actually along the lines that you mentioned. You know, it's they're trying somehow to. It's like a flirting.
I love
mood,
it.
you know?
I love it. That's fantastic. I love it. So the technology. So you've got a bunch of sensors back there. So you're
Yeah.
mentioning demographics. Do you have? I mean, if you have, obviously, if you have cameras and you're capturing them walking by or capturing them coming to, you can capture that image. How do you determine
Yeah.
the demographic? How do you know that this is male, female, you know, age, etc.?
Well, it's based on a computer vision machine learning algorithm. So basically, we are tracking several points on the image, and then we don't store, by the way, any personal data. So it's just we are just you know, telling if it's a male or a female, a child, and based on that, we build like you know, like a virtual skeleton of that person, and we can tell based on various points on the face whether it's a male or a female. But we don't store those images per se. You know, we don't use them. We cannot identify that exact person. So people feeling privacy should not fear our solution, because we don't store any of their personal figures. Yeah. Also, you know, another cool part, I think, is that everything is managed through our online platform. So it's cloud-based, and you can have, let's say, a campaign in, I don't know, 100, 200 stores, and you can immediately change the content or change the settings. And if, for example, if you want during the weekend to have a special promo, you can totally do that in 5 minutes. You change it in all 200 stores. You know,
Nice.
so
nice.
that's another benefit.
Very cool. So, so when you say, so when you do you actually have different messages based on demographics? So you say, so you can configure it, right? So let's say I come in to install this into a store, and I have a number of them. I'm assuming you can't put too many, because obviously you don't want them to compete with each other unless you actually want them to communicate with each other. And then once you place it, then you can configure it and you say, okay, so depending on the demographic, play this message or do this or do this or do this. So you can actually pre-configure it with a bunch of different messages and a bunch of different actions based on the demographic that it's fixed. And so can the store owner then go in and say, okay, for someone who's this age range, do this. For someone who's this age range, do that. For someone who's male, do this. So that's all configurable in the back end. Okay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. This is how it works.
So what is it? What's the process of putting it in place? You just sort of take the product off the shelf, put it behind the product, and that's it? Does it have any power requirements or?
No, there is usually it can be powered by the mains, or also we have a battery as an extra option in case, you know, that store doesn't really have a power source right at the shelf. So we can use also our batteries. Yeah, we also have a universal grip system that basically allows you to attach any kind of product that you regularly find in a grocery store. And it takes like 5 minutes to configure it and to attach to physically install it in the store. So it's very easy. You don't have to modify a lot at the shelf. You know, just have to make a little room for the device itself, and that's it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm assuming, so when we get to the point where there's only a few of these per aisle, because obviously if you had too many of them, then it would be a little bit distracting. Do you have any studies on what the optimal number of these things to have, or how far apart they need to be?
Actually, we have a policy of not having two devices in the same aisle. So we never do for competitors in the same time, by the way, also. So, so in Europe, we have different sizes of stores. In America, you tend to have most of them are large stores. We call them hypermarkets. So for a hypermarket, we don't want to go beyond 7 devices per store and never in the same aisle. For smaller stores, we can go with 3 and even 1 device per store, depending on the size, right?
So is it the brand? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, we are very careful to not, because as you said, they can cannibalize each other. You know, whether if you have like a lot of them, they will cancel each other out. So we totally don't want that to happen. And I know your next question, so I'm going to just answer to that. Our main customers are indeed the brands, but we also partner with the retailers, and the retailers can do different things. They can first promote their own private labels, their own products that they have an interest to sell more, or they can use it as a marketing service they are offering to their suppliers, the brands, for an extra fee. So we can actually increase their revenues by this marketing solution they can offer to their brands.
So what kind of stats, I'm assuming you've done a lot of testing, what kind of uplift are brands expecting to see when they bring your product into market?
We actually have a problem in telling the truth, because nobody believes
right? Nobody believes it.
Nobody believes it. We actually have to play it down. You know, we are giving not the best examples. I'm going to tell you a couple of those crazy results we had. On average, you can assume an increase in sales of 200% without any, that is net. So like,
wow.
Imagine you are selling 5 products per day. With Tokinomo, you would sell 15 products per day.
Wow,
and,
that's great.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right. And on top of this, none of our campaigns had any price reductions. So that's another benefit. We actually recommend not to use any price reduction during our campaigns because there is no need. You know, people are having so much fun with the product that actually there is no need for a price cut. You know, and I think there is it's a misconception that not all people are price sensitive. You know, of course there are some who are hunting the best prices, but not all of them. You know. For example, do you remember the last price promo that influenced your sales, your purchase in a store? You see?
No. I needed apples, and I just bought apples at whatever price it was.
Right.
It didn't affect me.
So, yeah, people with normal incomes, they don't, they don't have the time, first of all, to really look for each individual price. You know? Of course, during the times of crisis like now, people will become probably more price sensitive. That is true. Still, we believe that through shopper interaction, you can totally increase the sales without having to drastically reduce the price. And I will give you another example of that is one of our best campaigns that we had. It's a crazy story actually. So we were after this brand. It's a German dairy brand, and we tried to convince them to use our device. They didn't believe our figures, and we proposed them, okay, let's do a test. Let's do a free pilot in a couple of stores to see what is going on. But if we manage to increase your sales without any price cuts, then promise us you will do another follow-up campaign, a paid one. You know? And they said, okay, we are going to do this, but we are going to reduce the price. And we said, no, that's the whole point of it. Do not reduce the price. You know, do not reduce the price. And we actually made a bet. You know, let's increase the price.
Nice.
Okay, so instead of reducing the price, let's increase the price. And they actually did that. You know, there was a couple of stores, so the risk was kind of minimal. So they increased the price to the level of their main competitor, which had a larger package, a larger product, you know, and they increased it by 11%, which is not a lot, but it's significant, you know, 11% of the shelf price. And we managed to, it was 2 weeks, a 2-week campaign, and we managed to increase the sales by 940%.
Whoa!
940%. That is like crazy.
Even with a higher priced product, I love it. I love it. That's fantastic.
And to the point that their main competitor actually sent representatives in that store to see what is going on. You know, they're desperate, and their main competitor actually reduced the price by 20% in the later part of the campaign. You know, because they're desperate. Their market share was going way down. You know.
Wow, fantastic. That's really great. So I want you to speculate a little bit. I mean, why did this work so well? I mean, you said you tried humans, you tried all these different options. Why did this specifically work better than everything else that you tried?
Two reasons. First, we make the product visible. So we greatly increase the chances for that product to be considered, okay? Just by that, just by making the product visible. And secondly, look, if you could see our device in a real store, it's almost like magic, you know? Like magically one of the physical products that sits on the shelf magically comes to life and speaks with you, you know? So people don't feel it's advertising. People feel like it's you know, like they're entering into a cartoon movie, and the physical products are becoming somehow magically alive, you know. So I think that adds to the interaction and to the fun of our product and our offering. So I think that those two combined, kind of you know, together they generate this high uplift in sales.
Interesting. So I would argue that also not having a person there is also very helpful, because for some reason I have this feeling that, you know, when people see someone there pushing a product, like when someone's standing there going, "Hey, buy this thing," then there's a pushback from people going, "Oh, you know, someone's going to try and sell me this thing. I don't want it." But this is much lighter touch, and as soon as you remove the human, it makes it more fun, because you're saying, "Oh, this thing is coming to life." It's kind of like watching like a Disney movie or like Sleeping Beauty or something like that, where, you know, brooms are dancing around. It just totally brings a complete sense of fun to something that would be normally pretty boring. So I'm assuming that the product that's actually in the device can't be picked up and taken away. So they have to pick up another one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And also, you know, a factor is that counts is also the messaging. You know, you can totally, I mean, depend also on the brand, how smart they are, how creative they are, and the agency that creates the messages. Because of course, some clever messages, some, you know, a way to create fun for the shopper greatly increases the chances for that particular campaign to be successful, other than just simply say buy me or something, you know, very boring and very stupid like that.
Yeah.
So this also plays a role. And yeah, I think, you know, overall the whole you know, interaction and especially with the people nowadays, even more during those times, we heard a lot of brands that are completely discarding all human sales reps, because not only they didn't work so much before, as you said, people kind of sense that they're trying to sell you something, but nowadays, due to this situation with the virus, people are even more reluctant to interact with humans in the store. So I think we will have a great chance to actually, you know, improve our market share, let's say, in the in-store industry, in-store marketing industry.
Mm-hmm. So where do you see the future of this going? Because I mean, I have this vision of aisles and aisles of your product, actually, so more than one per product, actually one per product, and then as the customer walks past something that they should buy, it starts interacting with them. So where are you going next with the product?
I think we will further play on this concept of making physical products that otherwise they are sitting, you know, motionless, almost like I don't know, dead on the shelf without any ability to actually interact with the product. So we will play on that, and we will build either several products, a line of products, or more features on top of our current device, based on that concept, okay, to give a voice and to create a personality for the physical brands, and to be able to interact and have fun with the shoppers. So we are going to improve on our original concept, because I think we hit a nail there. We actually are on to something there with making that physical product to give personality to it.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's just a product in retail space. You could do that with almost anything, right? It's almost like making anything animatronic. You could do that yourself.
Yeah, true. This is the starting point, and this is what we've noticed, that there is a need, and there is a, an opportunity for us, but totally, of course, we can expand that to other markets as well. And also we want to develop it more. For example, imagine that we are working right now actually at more interactive in the sense that you can totally create a dialogue. Like imagine you have the Alexa or Siri, and you can have that with your product, with your favorite product. You can actually have a fun conversation with it.
Do you ever see a point where you're putting even more smarts like that behind it, where you're saying the person can actually have a conversation with it, saying, "Well, how much salt do you have, or how much of this, that?" So you can actually query the product and have a conversation.
That is the idea. That is the exact idea, right?
Very cool. So it's almost like having a human there, but not having a human there. So they can answer questions. You got a chatbot at the back of it.
Yeah, I think that you expect that from a human, but you don't expect that from a physical product. So I think that is the fun of it. It's like again, it's like you are watching a Disney movie, as you said.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the startup journey. So you're still a startup right now, right? How did you go through from like the very beginning to when you first came up to the idea to where you are today?
Well, it's been a long journey, and not always the most pleasant one. It's quite difficult, but I will tell you the few highlights. So we started this as an idea. Basically, it was a side project. Me and my co-founder, we didn't know exactly how this will play out. It was an idea. We tried to build it. By the way, we didn't have any expertise in electronics. We were very ignorant on that part. But we had a lot of luck by having friends that are very competent in those areas. So we tried to build a prototype. It was very basic, and we are a little bit ashamed of it right now.
You know what they say? You have to be ashamed of the first product that you put out. Otherwise, you put it out too late. So I think you did perfect.
That is true. It was basically a wooden box with some 3D printed stuff on it, and but we went with that and showed it to a couple of brands. We tried to see the reaction. Basically, they told us it was ugly, but they love the product. They love the idea, the concept behind. And at one point, we got an inquiry from one of the biggest beer brands, and they said something like, "Okay, we love it. We want a campaign in 35 stores." We only had 2 prototypes, and and we want it in 2 weeks.
Nice. No pressure.
No pressure. So we spent like literally day and night on those. We got lucky because it was postponed by 1 week, and we managed to have it done. We did basically a bunch of 35 prototypes, to be honest. So it wasn't yet a final product, but we managed to do the campaign, which was, by the way, a paid campaign. So we started not by offering free pilots. We just had our first client before having the actual product.
Fantastic. And that's great.
Right. So that kind of led us to the conclusion that we should do something about it. We should quit our day jobs and commit ourselves to this project. And then we got the attention of a US-based accelerator, and then we went to the States for a couple of months, and we understood more about startups and how to pitch to investors and all that. And then we got back to Europe. We pitched to investors. They agreed to. It wasn't that hard actually to convince a couple of investors to put some money into this idea. And then we got another stroke of luck when we had a big order for like 500 devices from a company in the UK that basically loved the product, and they paid us upfront.
Wow.
Cash. So they had a lot of confidence in us. No, I don't know.
Who says the retail industry is dying? They got money. They just know they know a good thing when they see it. But I'm really curious, actually, if you could just tell me more about that time frame between the time you got the first order when you only had 2 devices, and then you had to fulfill this order in 2 weeks. How did you do that? I mean,
we had a friend who had his own workshop. He was like a carpenter or something like that. So we basically moved. We did like a spontaneous mini factory in his workshop. You know? So he helped us actually build those devices. They had no connectivity, so it is nothing fancy about. It was easier to build them than it is the current product to be built. And yeah, we just stood there and spent all the time that we had building and crafting we bought the components, which luckily for us were available locally. And yeah, that was it. We just spend all of our times trying to complete the order.
And you were able to deliver it on time. That's fantastic.
So we finished the production on the exact date we were supposed to install devices in the store. It was like 1 o'clock midday, and we were like all unslept, very tired, but like finally we've made it. It was like
that's a fantastic story, because you hear about so many startups who they have all these different ideas, and they're just pushing and pushing and pushing, and they just don't get any kind of traction. You guys got traction right away, so that's fantastic. Are you the inventor or the sales guy? What's your role on the team?
I'm yes, you could say that I'm the inventor of this stuff, and we started by we were 2 co-founders at first, me and actually my brother-in-law Laurențiu. So we are
Nice.
It's a little bit like a family business also, and the others are a bunch of friends that joined the project basically, and we also made them co-founders to the company.
No, I love the idea. I think it's very cool. Sorry, I stopped your stories. Like, what happened after that? What was the next step?
Yeah, so after we were in the middle of the discussions with the investors for the first round, and at that time we got in contact almost by chance with a UK-based company that loved our product. And we showed them the plans for the future product, for the actual product, but there was nothing built. We didn't even have a prototype. It was a prototype for the previous prototype, but we didn't have like the physical product built. So we showed them approximately what we wanted to accomplish and what to do, and they agreed to. We told them, look, guys, we don't have any money, to build this. We are in the middle of a founding round, so if you want those devices, you're gonna have to pay upfront. And surprisingly,
that worked. I love it.
Yeah, that worked.
Honesty sometimes is really good, right? Sometimes just saying to them, listen, this is the situation. If you guys really want this, then you're gonna have to pay up. So yeah, that's totally fantastic. And that went really well, I'm assuming, after you installed that. Were those the actual products with all of the functionality, the electronics, the connectivity, all of that stuff?
Yes, it was the physical product was the same basically. However, meanwhile we worked a lot on the software side. So the software was, to be honest, very basic at that time, because we didn't have the time to do it all. So we have a software for the device itself for the main functionalities. We also have the cloud platform. We also have the mobile app, all that. And we added extra features later on, little by little, also bug removal and all that. So right now, I think we have a full-grown product. It's ready to be installed anywhere in the world, and it's certified. We also applied for 2 patents internationally. So starting actually last year, we began to sell outside our home country, which is Romania. So until we were sure that we can actually manufacture the product properly, that is certified, that everything is in order legally and technically, we didn't start actually selling proactively too much because we wanted to be prepared.
Right, right. So tell me about how you came up with the company name, because it doesn't sound Romanian.
No, actually, it's a funny story. I met a bunch of Japanese people at a fair, at a trade fair, and they thought we were Japanese as well.
Well, I know. I mean, I haven't been to Japan, but I keep reading these stories about how they have all these robots everywhere, right? There's a hotel somewhere that's all run by robots. There's there's like a dinosaur at the front desk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like the Japanese culture would this would really appeal to the Japanese culture. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it actually comes from talking and motion. So it's a combination of those words, talking and motion, Tokinomo. But the Japanese sound-alike name, it's intentional because I really love the Japanese classical culture, and I respect them, you know, for being what they are. And I think, I don't know, it's pretty fun. And also the internet domain was free, so it was a pretty unique name. So if you type in Tokinomo, you only find information about us. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to. I mean, if, for example, if I were Steve Jobs, I wouldn't name my company Apple, to be honest. You know?
Well, yeah. Today, if Steve Jobs was founding a company today, it would have to be some unique word, because it's funny how the .com domain name being available drives how a lot of company names come out, because I think they sometimes work backwards from that. They look at the .com domain and say, oh, is this available, or is this available, or is this available? And then they work backwards to come up with the company name. That's fantastic. Well, this is a great story. And I'm like, did you actually have any like huge barriers that you had to overcome? Because I'd love to hear any stories on that.
We still do actually. I'll tell you what I think is the main barrier. The main barrier is actually our biggest advantage, is the fact that we are coming with a new thing on a quite traditional market. So it is a big advantage, of course, because it sets us apart from our competitors. But on the other hand, the brands, for example, are reluctant to try something new. So there is an adoption curve. So people actually have to try our solution first. We needed a few visionaries, a few bold brands to try our solution, because people are used to doing the same old things all over again, you know?
Yep.
So until we became a little bit more famous, and people started to hear about us more, brands weren't actually using our solution a lot. You know, it was thanks to those few brands who had the courage to try it out and test it, and they saw the results, and that put us on a map, on the in-store marketing map, and that helped us. But still, there are a lot of brands that we didn't work with internationally. And of course, it's always a challenge to make them try something new. I think that is true for any industry. You know, people are reluctant to try the new stuff. Most of them actually have the followers attitude, not the trendsetters. So that is number one. The second thing is that despite the fact that we worked in advertising, we actually didn't know the retail business so much. There are a lot of intricacies and a lot of things that are happening in the background. The tricky relationship between the brand and the retailer, and we didn't know those. We didn't have those insights, and it took us a long time to understand how the budgets, how the negotiation between the retailers and the brands are happening, what could affect an in-store promotion. Because there are a lot of extra stuff going on. You know, for example, if a brand doesn't get along with a certain retailer, the retailer can totally block your campaign. You know, because if you are if you want to do a campaign in the middle of their annual negotiations, then you are in trouble, usually.
Yep.
And then of course, there are always, for every startup, there are cash flow problems initially before the funding. Because we are a hardware, we also have the hardware component to our business. It's always tricky to finance the stock of products. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges, but I think we did pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, you did really well.
Although I must admit, at times I was like pretty down, So
yeah.
I think there is like in this situation, I can tell from my own experience that although the sky looks very bleak at the time, and for probably many startups, things don't look so great at the moment. I think there are big chances that somehow unexpectedly, the sun will come up again on the sky, and everything will be great again.
So what's your advice then? Is it just to keep on going, or I mean, what is your advice? What advice would you give to startups?
If it's a poor idea and a poor product, don't. So,
How do you know it's a poor idea? Because a lot of startup founders are like, I just came up with this widget. It's awesome. I think it's great. How do you know it's a good idea?
It's a good idea when other people think it's great, and the people are willing to spend money because it's great. That is how you know it's a great idea.
Yeah.
If it's just yourself, then you cannot tell for sure. It might be a good idea. It might be a shitty idea. You never know. Sorry for saying that.
No, that's fine. It's a podcast.
It's good you
say that. That's not a problem.
It's not the national television, so.
So tell me about your big break. You must have had a big break, right? Because I know a lot of startups they're like working in these, they feel like they're working in dungeons, and they're talking about their product and nobody's biting. Like, how did you get your big break? Is it something that you guys did outreach, or like that first thing that you say is that like the trigger that finally set you on the path to success?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that?
I think we never had like a big break. We had a lot of small breaks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was the initial campaign for that beer brand that I was telling you about. It is a huge brand, and that made us to commit ourselves in this project. So that is the first step. The next step was, as I told you, it was the accelerator. That was an important part, and we've learned how to build your own business and how to deal with investors and stuff. Then it was that order that I was telling you about for 500 devices. That was totally a moment that allowed us to grow fantastically. Then we got another interesting moment. We received an important award in UK for the most innovative product for retail, actually. So we were competing against all the giants, like including Google and Amazon and all that, and we won. We were totally the underdog there.
Congratulations!
But we won. It was really unexpected. Yeah, and it was like, it's a funny story actually. So we were shortlisted. We knew that, and I was next to the stage when they announced the winner. And they said, and the winner is Tokinomo. And I was like, whoa. And then after the show, I was so nervous. After the show, somebody told me, did you like the confetti? The confetti, rain or something. And I said, what confetti? I didn't even see the confetti, I saw it afterwards in the videos. I was so oblivious. I was so like in trance that I couldn't see any confetti.
Oh man. So like that. So I wanted just to focus on that very first thing, that very first break you got. How did that happen? Did you do outreach? Was it totally a fluke? I mean,
it was outreach on LinkedIn. So we tried to speak with quite a few brands on LinkedIn, and some of them just answered us. So it was not that we knew anybody, no network, just cold outreach on LinkedIn.
So you just went on LinkedIn and you said, "Hey, we got this new product. What do you?"
Yeah.
you might want to be interested. Or how did you, like, what was,
Oh,
did you just say, here's our new product, or what was
yeah, I think we
that outreach
I
like?
think we did it totally in the wrong way. I mean, we didn't know much about professionally approaching potential clients on LinkedIn or any of that. We didn't actually read a lot of marketing and sales materials. We actually, I think, we pretty much suck on sales, to be honest. The,
Well, a lot of startups
founders.
do suck on sales, so that's no surprise. But your
But
product was so compelling.
I think so. I think so. Meanwhile, we hired, of course, a few professional sales guys, and they actually told us, "Look, guys, I don't know how you guys made it so far, because I can tell you suck at sales. Now here is how it's done professionally."
Yeah. Yeah.
And we could see we did it purely on instinct and on believing in the product, and they could see that we are authentic and honest. I think so. I think those key elements played a role in actually compensating for the fact that we sucked on sales. But now I can totally tell the difference. And the sales that we hired, the sales guy that we hired, told us, look, this is like that's a very easy to sell product, because it's self-explanatory, it's very visual. It clearly adds a value to those potential customers, so they can immediately connect to that product. It's not something that anybody else sells, and so you are in a red ocean of competitors, and everybody sells the same thing. So it's quite a unique product. So I think it's easier to sell than other products.
I'm almost thinking that the reason why your LinkedIn reach out did so well is because you suck at sales, right? Because all these people get pitches from salespeople every day over LinkedIn. But if you guys just said, hey, here's the thing, and you did it wrong, like you did it wrong from a sales perspective, but you did it right from the way you wanted to communicate it, that's probably why your message stood out, right? Your message was not a sales message. So people listen to it. Right. And that's the thing. It's like, I've done multiple LinkedIn campaigns. There's plenty of people who do LinkedIn campaigns and they get no results at all. And you got fantastic results because I think you reached out in just the right way, because you didn't know anything. I mean, it's kind of like beginner's mind, right? It's like a beginner's luck. It's like, I've never done this before. I'm going to try. You don't know the rules, and you end up doing really, really well because you didn't do it right, which is perfect.
Yeah. True. That's true. I think.
Awesome. So tell us how people can get in touch with you if they want to inquire more about your product.
Well, you can obviously search Tokinomo on the internet, because you won't find any other website. You'll only find ours. So it's Tokinomo, and just type that in Google. All right, and
I'll add links to the company.
That's the best way. Of course I can share with you emails or phone calls, but I don't think anybody will actually write that down.
Is there like a demo video on the site that people can look at to see how the product works in action?
Of course, I can send you the link afterwards. We have a 1-minute trailer that pretty much tells the story in a short video. So yeah, I can totally share that with you. We have a lot of interesting materials once people that are interested reach out to us. So
awesome.
we can share with them, for example, case studies, and with some of these amazing results we had, and you can see shoppers' reaction in the stores. And by the way, we're trying not to use actors when we are doing our when we film our campaigns. We actually film the real shoppers, but people also don't believe us. They think they are hired actors, because they look so
so realistic.
So happy, and so
too happy. So let me ask you one last thing. What's your exit strategy? What are you thinking about? Where do you think about going to this company? Do you want to build it huge? Do you want to sell it to another company? Like, have you ever thought of your exit strategy?
Yes.
Or do you have one?
I don't. Let's put it like this. I don't plan to leave this company to my grandchildren. Okay.
Okay. So, spoken like a true startup founder. Good job.
So there are a couple of companies, like probably the giants in the in-store marketing space. I can name a few, by the way. If somebody listens, they can.
If you're listening.
Yeah. And also, yeah, the big companies in the retail space, basically, I think they would be most interested in acquiring our technology. But I'm planning to build this thing huge first, and then to sell it for a nice, I don't know, retirement fund.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I think we're out of time. So thank you so much. This is great. Send me links to your video and all that stuff. I'll see if I can tack the video onto the end. Do you mind if I put it on the end of the show for the YouTube version?
Of course, no problem.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank
Lots
you.
of fun.
Thank you, Ezra. It's been fun.